this just kind of does it for you. You've instantly got like 5 men in the attack. You've got people to drop the ball back to as well. It's super, super effective. The 5-3-2 is a formation we do not often see in this game. However, when formatted correctly and in the right hands, is almost impossible to stop. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys the best 5-3-2 custom tactics. Then I'll show you some gameplay as well, showing you how to get the most out of this super underrated formation. Let's get into it. Now, some of you may be familiar with this formation. I know Harry Hesketh did use it a lot in FIFA 23. This formation's main attribute is all about how it attacks. The dirty 5 at the start of the formation makes it sound super defensive, and it is solid on the defense, like any 5 back, but this formation is all about how it attacks. It is so, so good on the attack. So we'll kick things off with the defensive style. This is going to be unbalanced. Defensive width 40, nothing unusual there. This is pretty much like a staple at this point in the game for me. And the depth is 65. I started with 70, felt a little bit too exposed over the top. I've dropped it to 65. And I think I'm pretty content with how this defends now. However, if you do try 65 and you find you're still getting done a little bit over the top, by all means drop this. I'd say anything down to 55 is absolutely fine. Build-up playing chance creation is direct passing, kind of just going with the meta there. The offensive width, straight down the middle at 50, and I didn't feel the need to tweak it after trying it there, so I left it. Exactly the same thing with the players in the box. Lots of attacking options in the final third. Did not feel the need to up this. Did not feel the need to lower it either to help with the build-up. 5 was absolutely perfect. And as always, corners and free kicks, just go with whatever your personal preference is. Player instructions. We'll fly through these pretty quickly, and then I'll talk more about the personnel you need in each position, because I think that's actually more important than the instructions themselves. So both strikers are completely default. The left centre mid is completely default as well. Your right centre mid is stay back while attacking, and then your central defensive midfielder is stay back while attacking, cover centre. Effectively, your right centre mid and left centre mid are covering each respective wing back, who both will be balanced overlap. That is on both sides. So each centre mid there, their defensive role is effectively just covering for those wing backs if necessary. However, you will often find them actually sitting in the middle if those wing backs do get back. It's only if the wing back is sort of left the space on the flanks exposed that you'll see your centre mid drift out, but it's really, really helpful. It works really effectively on the defence when they cover for that wing back if they are overcommitted. The central defensive midfielder, I've just got them as your anchor in the midfield, so there's always someone in the middle breaking up the midfield play. Nothing too unusual there. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, they are all just the default. We don't want to be doing anything weird there. If you like sweeper keeper comes across on your goalkeeper, by all means go for it. I personally just leave this both unbalanced. Now, like I said, I feel like the personnel here is more important than the instructions themselves. So, you may be looking at a formation like this and thinking, gosh, I feel like I've got to change my whole build just to have the right kinds of players for this formation. So, I'll give you a little bit of an analogy here. Think of a 4-4-2 and who you would put in a 4-4-2. In this formation, your 2 strikers that you'd have in a 4-4-2, exactly the same, nothing unusual there. Have those 2 players as your 2 strikers in this formation. Whoever you would have as your left mid in a 4-4-2, put them as your left centre mid. And whoever you would have as your right mid, put them as your right wing back. And then, if you think about your 2 centre mids in a 4-4-2, a more ball playing one and then a more defensive one, have your more ball playing one as your right centre mid, and then have your more defensive one as your central defensive midfielder. And then your back 4, you want to have your left back as the left wing back, your 2 centre backs as the left centre back and central centre back, then have your right back as the 3rd centre back on the right hand side. Now, if you're someone who has a more offensive right back than left back, and maybe a more ball playing centre mid that's better on the left than the right, then you'll have to switch the personnel and instructions on both wing backs and then both centre mids, and you can kind of play it symmetrical then if you want to do it the other way around. But that is how, just kind of as something that'll be a lot more familiar to you guys thinking of a 4-4-2 and who you need where, that is how I would translate that into this formation. Because the way this works is, you've obviously got your main 2 strikers here. Now you've got your more offensive player here. This is kind of like your 5th man in the attack, because you've got your 2 overlapping wing backs, your 2 strikers, and then this is the player that kind of doesn't get picked up, the one that's always there for the spare pass. Now you want an out-and-out attacker there. So as they're pushing forward, you've got a more defensively capable player on that side. And then on this side, where your wing back is more offensively capable, you've got a stay back, more covering centre mid there. So on the side where your wing back is more offensive, you've got a more defensive centre mid. On the side where your centre mid is more offensive, you've got a more defensively capable wing back. It just offers a lot of balance, but players coming at the opponent from different areas of the pitch. At this stage in the game, in terms of your strikers, now this obviously applies to any two striker formation, but I would go with one very capable on the ball, 5'5", very nimble like a Mia Hamm. And then next to them, I think at this point in the game, it's really worth having an aerial plus striker. So I'm using this Joselu card, but the Sorloths, anyone like that, is more than applicable. A Haaland, if you've got enough budget. An aerial plus version of him, that is. As far as your left centre mid goes, it's just a standard left winger. Your right centre mid is going to be a ball playing player. So I've got Bruno Fernandes, but a De Bruyne, a Zidane, anyone of that nature is perfect. Your central defensive midfielder, I use this Sergio Busquets card, who I think is actually honestly one of the best CDMs in the game. I think the playstyles that he offers is just absolutely amazing. But if you can get a long ball pass plus player here, that is really helpful at this stage of the game where you've got players with 3, even now 4 playstyle pluses coming into the game. So to have at least one of those as long ball pass plus is excellent for those route 1 balls to your overlapping wing backs, your strikers, that extra centre mid that is getting into the final third. As far as your right wing back goes, that's obviously a traditional right midfielder in a 4-4-2. So for them, I've got Salah, who actually does have a finesse shot threat. But so long as you've got one in the team, for example, if your left centre mid has a finesse shot threat, that's great. As long as you've got one finesse shot threat in there, that kind of ticks that box in your squad build. But your right wing back is just any right winger that you get on with. Now, your right back that's moving into centre back, I've gone with Cafu. I do have Lahm on this account. So if I'm playing like a 4-3-2-1 and I want a right back that can switch the ball to the left back, I play Lahm with that long ball pass plus. However, for a formation like this where I am switching them into centre back, I do go with a more defensively physical, capable right back to move into centre back. So I use Cafu. His base card is still excellent playing at centre back. For your 2 centre backs, honestly, the one thing I'm falling short here with is one of your centre backs really should have aerial plus, just to counter the likes of the Haalands and the Sorloths. I'm using Ramos and Desailly just because I love their defensive AI and they're so fast and aggressive in game. But realistically, you should be aiming for one of them to have aerial plus. I would sub on an aerial plus centre-back if I find I am getting done there, but it makes more sense to have it in your build. I'm just personally rocking with these two. That is my shortcoming with my squad build. As far as your left back goes, just a really offensively capable but still good defensively capable wing back. So one very rounded, high work rates is perfect. So I'm using Rolfer. I personally wouldn't go for someone like a Davies here, at least not the flashback version that's high-low, because I feel like that's a little too offensive. I want someone here that's really responsible for getting back as soon as possible. So Rolfer for me is still the best in the game at this, but I'm sure there are other options. Someone that's high, basically like Goretzka gang, Hullet gang with pretty much really high stats in every department. That's absolutely perfect. Getting into some of the goals, just so you guys can see how I play with this formation and get the most out of it. Now, I know when you see 5-3-2 on paper, that sounds like quite a naked midfield. It sounds like everyone's kind of at the back. But you'll notice instantly, as soon as those wing-backs come into play, you've got a midfield line of 5 with 2 strikers. That's like 7 dedicated attackers. So this formation is no joke on the attack. It's really offensive. And with the way that you haven't got a cam, it's actually a centre mid that is committing as like your 5th attacker. They kind of pop up in positions that the defence just doesn't pick up, especially with most people running 4-backs this year, kind of conforming to what pro players are having to do, not being allowed to use 3 and 5-backs. You just get spare men in the attack so easily, and it's less forced than what you have to do with something like a 4-3-2-1, where you have to commit that defender and consciously play through them to get the spare man. This just kind of does it for you. You've instantly got like 5 men in the attack. You've got people to drop the ball back to as well. It's super effective on the attack. It's awesome. Now, the one thing you will have to get used to on the defense, and this is the thing that took me a couple of games to kind of get to grips with, is when your wing backs drop back, they really do drop back as a back 5. So you are left with a midfield 3 to defend with before you switch into your defence. Now, if you've been used to playing with 4-backs, most 4-backs are formatted to defend in a 4-4-2 on the defence, which means you've got a bank of 4 in midfield. So in this, you're giving up one of those midfielders to have an extra man in defence. So it's really solid once they break your midfield line, but it is easier for them to break your midfield line because you've got 3 people there, not 4. So you've really got to consciously not pull those midfielders out too aggressively and really make sure your left centre mid is tracking their wide man attacking. Really make sure your right centre mid is doing the same on the other side. Don't overcommit them too easily because they're always going to be straight in on your back 5 then. You don't want to be defending with your defenders all the time. You want to keep as much of the onus on the defence on those midfielders rather than the defenders. So getting used to a 3-man midfield instead of a 4 is a bit of an adjustment, but once you get used to it, it's excellent because even if they do break past that, they've then got 5 defenders to break down, which effectively no formation really attacks with more than 5 dedicated attackers anyway. So you're kind of marking one person man to man. So there's not really a spare man for your opponent to work with. It's really difficult to break down. And as you'll see when you're on the attack, you just absolutely flood the opponent. And truly, you can just fly at people with these. I hope you enjoyed the video today, guys. I know a few of you have been crying out for me to try some of the 3 and 5 backs. And truthfully, I've just not had a lot of success with them this year, which is why I haven't really kind of gravitated towards them much. However, this one, I've been having tons of fun with, so I had to make a video on it and share it with you guys and give you a little bit of that taste of the 5 backs in FC24. But as always, guys, if you did make it this far in the video, I really appreciate your time. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and turn your bell on. Take care, guys.